Hi guys, I'm officially live. I'm really tired today, but I've been wanting to do this live stream for a couple days now. So I've seen a lot of new movies recently, and I want to talk about them. I don't oftentimes get a lot of interest in my channel from talking about the various movies that I see, but movies in general are just my thing. So I'm gonna start with this live stream to get myself in the mood of talking about movies more and to just catch up with everything and to share all my wonderful little thoughts I have on these films. So, the very first film I want to talk about is Jurassic World Dominion. And I had originally not planned to see this movie, and I actually saw it. I have a Regal Unlimited this summer, so I can see anything I want for free. So it really is not that big of a deal if I go to the theater. But I had been sick for weeks and I just wanted to get out of the house. So I ended up being the instigator to go to Jurassic World Dominion, even though everyone was going to say it was going to be terrible. I did not see Jurassic House. That's what people call it, Jurassic House. What is the actual title of that movie? The second movie, Jurassic. I can't even remember what Jurassic World 2 was called. I just don't even remember at this point. But I had an interesting reaction to Jurassic World 3, and this is why I didn't want to do an official video for it, because I did not expect anything, any amount of good from that movie. It was even the critics were hating it. The last one had been so bad, I didn't know if there was. It was sort of like The Last Jedi, where I was like, "There's no way where you can make a good movie following up to a movie as bad as the one before." And I knew they were going to make money because people are going to finish this trilogy, and they did. And the people, that's the thing about Jurassic Park, is that ever since the first movie was very intellectual and it was based off of a book, um ever since then, Jurassic Park, the franchise, has just been a cash grab, a thing to milk people for how much they love the dinosaurs, specifically the way the dinosaurs were in the Jurassic Park films, because they made their own designs pretty much. So I was expecting absolutely nothing from this film. So I sat down, I completely turned my brain off, and thank you, Bifford the Hobbit. That Bifford the Hobbit. That is a very good name. So I sat down and watching Jurassic World Dominion, and my brain was completely turned off. I didn't expect anything. I didn't expect to be invested in anything, and I ended up watching a really stupid movie. And but I'm seeing other YouTubers, other critics, like just rip into this thing, like Critical Drinker and various other people just really get analytical and go into why this movie doesn't work and what it assassinates. But unfortunately, once again, this is why I didn't do an official review for it, is my brain was so turned off in the movie and was expecting just absolutely nothing. So I just sat there. I was bored through some of it. I was laughing at some of it. And overall, I'm just like, well, this entire Jurassic World franchise, the it's really destroyed the point of Jurassic Park, because the point of Jurassic Park is supposed to be that bring dinosaurs back to life is a bad idea, and that humans shouldn't tamper with things that they don't understand and things that they weren't supposed to control. And now this movie is like, no, dinosaurs can walk on college campuses. Dinosaurs run with elephants. People keep dinosaurs as pets now, I guess. And that it's perfect circle, because Jurassic Park started as an interesting idea, and Tom Cruise would have used real dinosaurs. Yes, he would have. But it started out as a really thoughtful idea, and then it just became a giant franchise, a giant money-making franchise. Even when I was little, I would watch movies like Jurassic Park 3 and Jurassic Park Lost World, and there would just be like video games, computer games, dinosaur action figures, board games. It's all about the merchandising. So I thought we've kind of become full circle, because we've gotten so far away from what Jurassic Park is supposed to be. We're now just like, oh, we can live. We've gotten away from the very point of it. Living with dinosaurs would be cool. And there's absolutely nothing in the movie where it's a challenge for them to adapt to that. People have already just kind of adapted to it and using dinosaurs on the black market, rescuing dinosaurs from people who are treating them badly, giving them nice zoos, letting them run free, learning to coexist. And the movie really, it doesn't seem like it has anything else to say other than that. Other than dinosaurs, it's we got along, we found a way. And then there's this weird plot about having to rescue, I think her name's Madison. I can't remember. I You could tell how tuned out I was with this movie. There was this, they kind of contrived this whole plot about having to rescue the clone girl from the first movie, and then having to fight against mutated locusts. By Jurassic World's logic, that the locusts would eventually become a good thing because apparently it's okay for human beings to tamper with things that they shouldn't. So, Chris Pratt looked like he absolutely did not want to be there, and that's the first time I've gotten that impression from him from a movie. He normally looks like he really enjoys what he does. So I'm just looking back thinking, I didn't think that the first Jurassic World should have happened, and I would not be a bit surprised with all the money that they're continuing to make off of Jurassic Park, that they just continue making movies in some way eventually. But eventually, I guarantee there will be more Jurassic stuff. But because this is kind of, since the first movie, this is kind of always what the franchise has been. It's been a merchandising endeavor. I'm not really mad at it like I am with the other films, because I think everyone understands that Jurassic Park was a smart, incredibly well-made movie by Steven Spielberg, based off of the book by Michael Crichton, and then it just became like Disney Mickey Mouse merchandise, all this stuff. Thank goodness Disney hasn't gotten its hands on Jurassic Park, though, because then we would never even get a stop to the content. So that's my review of Jurassic World Dominion. Do not watch it unless you want to absolutely turn your brain off, and if you don't care about the very themes of Jurassic Park being usurped. I like Jurassic World, the first, Overlord 69, thank you. I liked Jurassic World, the first, for having the leverage of showcasing living dinosaurs, Dino Park. I don't care about the Jurassic World sequels. I just don't care for the first Jurassic World. I remember when it came out in 2015, which seems a long time ago. I remember I just didn't care for it. Um, it, Once again, I think the excuse is that you want to have more dinosaurs on screen, right? Ever since that first movie, having sequels. But of course, they can't just make a new movie with different themes than the original Jurassic Park, which is about how humans and dinosaurs can't really coexist, because they need to have the thing with brand recognition. So that was my review of Jurassic World Dominion. I give it a 3 out of 10, I'd say. Or a 2 out of 10, maybe, being generous. The only thing that I found really entertaining about it is that, sorry, just want to make sure something was, the only thing I found really entertaining is the scene when Owen, or Chris Pratt, I'll just call him Chris Pratt, he gets chased by these, like, advanced velociraptors, and it was really just overdone action sequence after we hadn't gotten a whole lot of action. And I want to take, when that comes out on like streaming or Blu-ray, I want to take that scene of him running from the dinosaurs, and I want to I want to take Leah from the Obi-Wan show, and I want to paste her in front of her and make the dinosaurs be chasing her with all the people that made fun of that scene. Okay, moving on. Another movie I saw, this might not be so much for the people who are already on my channel, but I went and saw the Baz Luhrmann Elvis movie. And the reason I saw it was not because I'm a big fan of Elvis. I've never been a big fan of Elvis, though unlike a lot of people, I guess I understand his impact on the culture, and he's the reason he influenced Michael Jackson. He's the reason for a lot of different things in music and popular culture. But I wanted to see it for the filmmaking craft of it, and I went and saw the movie. And I was not disappointed by it. I really don't think Hollywood does a good job with biopics. Biopics from Hollywood are like the most generic things that you will ever watch. They're always made the same way. I'm talking to Overlord 69. Actually, they go in the Elvis movie about how Elvis was inspired by the original Captain Marvel, aka Shazam comics. That's what inspired him. But biopics in Hollywood are always made the same way. They start out at someone's birth, or lately they've just kind of been jumping around. I saw this James Brown biopic, and it was really terrible, where it was with Chadwick Boseman, and they just jumped around his life so much. It was just really annoying. But they try to mix it up, I guess, by taking parts of someone's life and placing it someone else and trying to get a conventional narrative. But they generally have the same tone and purpose, where they're just like, this person was really great and influential, and yes, they did bad things, but don't pay attention to that. Just pay attention to how amazingly talented they were. And then the movie will end like midway through their life, and you'll get like the words coming on the screens with some images of who they really were in real life and where everybody from the film ended up in real life, and then it'll end with like an inspiring song. That's a biopic from Hollywood these days. And if you've seen one, you've kind of seen them all. But what I appreciate about this movie is that, yes, it did jump around a little bit, just a little bit, but I thought it was a lot more well structured and it kept to the point it wanted to make. And I really liked the cinematography in the movie. There are some very impressive shots. I liked how it went. It really paid homage to the time periods it was talking about. There was some, psychedelic transitions made, sort of like reverence to the 70s and that age. There was a lot, they haven't done this in a while, but this was something popular in like the late 60s and in the early 70s. But they basically take blocks of different scenes that are happening and kind of slide them together and slide them apart. They did that a lot in the movie, and then they would do it in tune to Elvis singing and dancing on the stage. I really enjoyed that. So like, and the scenes when they would cut from like real life footage and like use kind of a fuzzy filter to make it look like it was from the 70s to when they would cut to the fake footage, the manufactured footage, I honestly couldn't tell the difference. And so I really love the cinematography. But what I really appreciated about the film is that it let itself be a downer, and that's not what I've seen with any biopic ever. Like the James Brown one I was talking about, it was basically James Brown was this awful, 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 awful person, but he was talented, so he was good. Ultimately, that's basically what that movie was, just glossing over everything. This let itself be a real rise and fall story, and it let itself being honest in the sense that Elvis did end on a note where he was becoming irrelevant. He felt that nothing he did mattered. His family was torn apart. Whatever family he had, he decayed into drugs and he died. And so I, a person who has like no emotional connection to Elvis, was actually tearing up a bit because they took what's a larger than life star and made him very human and made his fall very, very emotional. And they made him very, very flawed as a person, and a person who could easily be taken apart by fame, taken advantage by managers, and just kind of engulfed in this kind of life that he had gotten himself into, and that he was never going to get himself out of that life. But it also tries it. There are some things I didn't appreciate. That they talk about how much Elvis was influenced by Black culture in his music. And while they're doing that, they like play modern rap songs by Doja Cat and people like that. And I'm like, it was so tonally off. And that was the only time when modern songs were played. And I guess that they were trying to reference what Black music sounds like now. But I'm like, it's so drastically different from what it was back then. It really took me out of the movie, especially a movie that's a period piece going from the 50s to the 70s, and going from the 50s to the 70s, and they were so good about the cinematography and the clothing and everything and making it feel like that time period. And Doja Cat song, it did not work at all for me. Like every Hollywood biopic, they try to make a specific narrative. Like Elvis was ultimately he was ultimately manipulated by this manager, and that's part of the reason why he fell. And yes, he was manipulated by that manager by the end of his life, but but it wasn't just him. And the movie tries to be like, it points fingers at the audience. You killed Elvis. He loved you guys too much. And it's like, no, he killed himself because he fell into womanizing and drugs. And they gloss over the fact that he was in a very messed up relationship with his wife. But it kind of compromised between the Hollywoodized biopic of someone who ultimately fell, and it admits that he fell by the end of his life, and that it's really a sad ending to a story. It does, so even if it tries to gloss over, it did keep to that point. So I would say I enjoyed the movie a lot more than most biopics. I think that Austin Butler was the definite Tom Hanks. I just really couldn't care less about in this movie, honestly. I've seen him play that sort of character before. I wasn't blown away by it. But I thought that, well, Tom Hanks, I really wasn't impressed with that much. Austin Butler blew me away. He was Elvis throughout the film. And even when you see Elvis by the very end of the movie and you kind of see real footage of him, it's like, well, I bought Austin Butler as Elvis throughout this entire film. And that's amazing. And the last thing I will say is it's interesting because the movie explores how Black artists weren't able to get to have their music heard. And the only reason why Elvis was able to get quote unquote Black music heard is because he was white. He sung music that was inspired largely by the Black community, and he was only able to get on stage because he was white, and that later opened up doors for Black jazz and stuff like that. But I turned to my sister by the end of the movie because enjoys dance and that sort of thing, and I said Austin Butler deserves the Oscar for this film. And she said, but I said, but he's probably not going to get it because he's white. And I thought that's funny because we become full circle. It used to be that if you were Black, you couldn't get your art seen. Now, because Hollywood is so desperate to try to look better, now you can't get an Oscar even if you have a great performance because you're white. But that was something interesting. I thought it was a very tearful ending, how they just kind of are very cold to explain Elvis's death and then give you finally intersperse. They don't end it as typically as some biopics. They did have the words come on the screen. They did have some footage from real life, but it really blended into the actual movie and seeing the very last performance he ever gave, and, kept with the somber tone. So I overall really liked the movie. I would give it probably a 7 out of 10, if not an 8 out of 10. It's pretty good. It's not the best biopic I've ever seen in my life where I'm like, you better watch this movie right now. Or it was better than most biopics I've seen. And I think that there's probably going to be some Oscars. I do think Austin Butler deserves the Oscar for this film, whether he gets it or not. It probably deserves an Oscar for cinematography and production design. But that's my review on Elvis. If you are into Elvis or you're just into the history of music and some of the dance, then I would definitely go see it. So I've talked about 2 films I've seen recently in the theater. Thor comes out next week, by the way, before we go on to we're going on to upcoming news now. So Thor comes out next week, and I've kind of been dreading that film, but I realized something. Maybe it won't be as bad as I think. Maybe it will be, but I realized something, that Scarlett Johansson, Robert Downey Jr., and Chris Evans are the 3 main Avengers that have left the franchise. They've even refused the idea of coming back. And I realized the reason that is all those 3 actors have always had careers outside of Marvel, and they can leave if they choose. They've done this for like 10 years. Chris Evans is getting deals where he's doing a movie with the Russo brothers, and he's doing the Knives Out movies. Robert Downey Jr. is the star, or one of the stars, of Christopher Nolan's next film. Scarlett Johansson is going to be in Wes Anderson's next film. And so those people all have careers. And I think Scarlett Johansson went and got 2 Oscar nominations for Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress right after she did Endgame. So those 3 actors and actress, they all have careers outside of Marvel, which is why Captain America got old and retired. Tony Stark is dead. Black Widow is dead. They wanted out, and I don't think they really want back in. Maybe 20 years ago, 20 years from now, they'll do a cameo or something. But Chris Hemsworth he's never had a career outside of Marvel. He admitted this in an interview today, or was it yesterday? I don't remember. He admitted this, that Chris Hemsworth, his career is owed to Thor. He was a struggling actor before he got the role of Thor, and Thor is what put him on the map and made him famous in the first place. So that's why Chris Hemsworth that's why he's not letting go of Thor. That's why there's a lot of talk that there's going to be a Thor 5 now. And when none of the other Avengers have gotten even a 4th movie, just a solo film. And because he says that he doesn't want to let go of Thor and wants to hold on to it as long as he can, because that is his career. Chris Hemsworth, I really like him, but unfortunately he doesn't have a lot of range. He can play the buff action hero, and he can play the dopey comedian, and that's what he plays as Thor. And all the other films he's gotten are just portraying him that way. He was the dopey comedian in Ghostbusters 2016. He's that in like this movie he's got on Netflix right now. He was the buff action hero in Extraction. But all those films are kind of, even though Extraction was very well received and I thought it was pretty good, But it's all pretty much riding off of the fact that he's Thor. But what I think is unfortunate about that is that I'm worried that Marvel is going to become like The Office or Friends. I don't watch Friends, but because Marvel has so often been compared to a TV show, right? um Compared in that it's sort of like we're watching seasons of television and we're just building on the characters and the story of this big universe, something that maybe a movie trilogy can't do. And I'm worried that Marvel is going to end up at like a TV show, in that TV shows hit their stride, their main character leaves, and then you're left with just some of the characters people liked left, but the formula and the structure is now messed up, and it keeps going until people just become completely tired and leave the show behind. And that's what I'm afraid. That's what happened with The Office when Michael Scott left. And that's what I'm afraid is going to happen to Marvel, that you've got your big heavy hitters that are leaving. You've got your people that we liked, but they're just holding on and they don't have much place to go. And they're just holding on to this job that they have until the quality just becomes worse and worse and worse. And that's what I'm worried is going to happen to Marvel. And that's what I'm worried is happening to Thor right now. I really like the colors that are going with Thor Love and Thunder. I'm going to see it. I'll probably see it twice unless it really makes me upset. But I just don't see Thor having the longevity for a 4 and a 5 right now, because they've messed up his character so much. So that's Thor. The next thing I want to talk about is the Barbie movie that's going to come out. I should have taken some water for this, but some of you might know that Margot Robbie is making a Barbie film, and lately we've been getting a lot of different set photos from that because they've been shooting in LA pretty publicly, so they probably know that set photos are going to leak out anyway, so that they've allowed some pretty high quality set photos to get out on the internet. And I gotta say, Margot Robbie always looks fantastic in every outfit they've put her in as Barbie. She looks just like a Barbie. I knew she would. Perfect casting. And because Margot Robbie is a bit misclassified as an actress, I'm not saying this to criticize her, but some people are trying to call her the chameleon actress. She can blend into any role. And I don't think that's true. I think that Margot Robbie is more of a Nicolas Cage, or even a Tom Cruise, if Tom Cruise can be classified that way. It's like they do have a lot of acting talent, a lot of emotional range, but you ultimately see the same character, the same person playing them in every film. Yes, including I, Tonya. I was seeing a lot of Harley Quinn in I, Tonya. I see Harley Quinn in Sharon Tate when she played her, because she plays a lot of emotions similarly, and she plays someone who's temperamental and aggressive similarly, and that's why I can always see Margot Robbie in her roles. And I'm not saying that to criticize her. I just think that she's been misclassified as an actress, but that's why she's perfect as Barbie. And I kind of know what I'm getting from a performance, because she's played that kind of innocent playfulness in movies many, many times before. And I do think, and it's very entertaining to watch, and it's very charming to watch. Um, so I think she's perfect as Barbie, but my problem is more, what's this movie really going to be about? I don't like what I've seen at all as Ryan Gosling as Ken. Like, compare, I tweeted this, but compare how Barbie is always looking amazing and so on brand in everything that we've seen of her, but Ken is always looking like a joke. Like, he was over sexualized in the very first scene we got of him with like Ken underwear, and then we recently saw him with like this overly baggy 80s skate outfit, while Margot Robbie's was tight and it looked really nice. So I'm worried that this film is gonna be like some of this was in Birds of Prey. It's gonna elevate the main female character by making the male character look really dumb. I'm worried that this feminist film, which Margot Robbie wants to use her company to promote feminism, I'm worried that it's just going to be used to make fun of men and put dumb old Ken down. Now, what might be happening in the film is it might be an enchanted sort of thing. And they said that this is supposed to be inspired by sort of like The Truman Show, which is a very good movie, and by the Splash film with Tom Hanks, and I can't remember who played the mermaid, but that is a film about a mermaid who they're both films about someone who comes from a different world into the real world, and Splash is about a mermaid who comes into the real world, doesn't understand the customs, but really has an innocence about her, and she wants to be with a man who doesn't realize she's a mermaid, really. So I'm wondering if this movie is going to have a sort of enchanted thing where Barbie comes to the real world and learns some things. Maybe she falls in love with a different guy and realizes that Ken is not really her true love, sort of like James Marsden's The Prince character was in Enchanted, and that could be fun. I really don't know. My problem is I don't really know what this movie's demographics is, because sometimes when they release some advertising like everything I see as Barbie, and we got like Will Ferrell, I guess, is going to play a businessman who's out to catch Barbie. Everything with that makes me think it's going to be a kids and family movie. But when I see like Ken coming out and being over sexualized and talking about maybe having some political social themes in the movie, I'm wondering, is this going to be more of a satire for adults? Because it's Greta Gerwig, and they keep talking about how this is going to be more of an artistic film, maybe not using those words, but talking about how this is going to be a movie that subverts expectations. So I don't really know what the movie is so far, but the costuming for Margot Robbie is really good, and that's what's like. I had or my sister had some of those Barbie costumes, so that's interesting. Those have caught my eye, but anything with like Ken and stuff makes me just wince and go like, I don't really know if this movie's for me, but at least it's got me interested. So I think that's all the movie news I wanted to cover. Like, I'm seeing Thor, I'm seeing the Nope movie. We've got Spider-Man No Way Home coming back into theaters, and I know it's a silly little cash grab. I'll probably go see that too, even though I guarantee that that Spider-Man No Way Home is going to have like 5 minutes of extra footage because they don't want it to be too long for the theaters. But I guess I'll see it. I mean, I saw it 4 times early this year, so I guess I'll see it again. Ramis Salami asks, before I forget to ask, did they touch on the fact that some of Elvis' more popular songs were covers of black jazz musicians? Yes, they did. They covered that Hound Dog was actually taken from a black jazz song. So they really emphasized in the movie that so much of Elvis's inspiration with dance and his music was from the black community and black music and jazz music. They didn't, so much so that they didn't all touch on the fact that he did have some white musicians that inspired him. But they did, if you're hoping that they touched on the fact that Elvis took a lot of inspiration from black musicians, then yes, they really emphasized that in the movie, and made sure that that was acknowledged. Okay, so other things I want to talk about. I've got about 3 reviews on Batman news if you guys would like to see them. I'm kind of become the Harley person there. I reviewed Batman Beyond the White Knight. I reviewed Harley Quinn 16. I reviewed the DC Vampires Harley Quinn issue. It's not a great, I keep giving these comics negative reviews, and I have to, because I don't think that this is a really great time for comics. Speaking of comics crossing over from other things, yes, I did read Poison Ivy. I gave it my review. I think I linked it in a previous community post, but go on Batman News and find on the Poison Ivy review. I actually gave that one a very high review. So we've got some other people coming on. It's weird that Overlord 69, it's weird that the Barbie movie, I can't really read that. The parodying the Barbie brand, they can't fully parody it. Yeah, it is a movie from Mattel. So I don't think they want to make fun of their brand. I think they want to sell their brand. That would be what makes me think that it would be more of a family movie where they want film to double as promotion for their toys, like the Lego movie did. But I'm just not sure. We have to get closer. So I saw the new Harley Quinn season 3 trailer. It just looks like garbage to me. I'm sorry. I know that people really loved at least the first season of that show. I appreciate it for at least developing its concepts, while most other independent Harley stories don't. But I just think it's really trashy. And I like adult shows where it's like, this is clever, funny comedy, but it might not necessarily be for kids. I don't like adult shows that are like, let's be edgy for the sake of edgy, make a lot of dirty sex jokes and swearing and stuff. That is really unadult to me. That is really immature. I don't like that. And I'm not going to watch that show. I mean, I'll be willing to watch like a teaser trailer uh, but I'm not going to watch that actual show. Don't I don't know. I don't know if I'm getting distracted by people. I'm getting distracted by people in the comments. I'll answer those questions in a second. But I don't know if the Harley Quinn show is going to be canceled. I'm like 110% sure that Young Justice is going to be canceled because they had the show, they didn't market it at all, and then they dropped it the same day they released this trailer. Harley is a little different. It is very, very odd that they started their marketing campaign for the show, HBO Harley, exactly a month before it's supposed to come out. And that would kind of tell me, and it's not getting any attention. I only know about it because I care about the whole topic, and so I'm following it. But I don't know. They might just be that might just be more content that they're content to have on the shelves, and that they just leave there, even though it doesn't get a big audience. Albert Nada Retro says, I'm boycotting Thor: Love and Thunder because of the scene with Zeus. I feel it mocks male victims of sexual assault. So I don't think that it's intentionally doing that, but I think that what the problem is that people don't take rape seriously in movies, or sexual assault or sexual harassment if it's against men, and that's a big problem. And that's a problem I had with that Thor trailer of how, oh, ha, it's funny he lost his clothes, and I'm sure kids will just think that's kind of funny. Cameron Ryder 64, hello there. I'm sure people think that that's really funny, like little kids, but I'm just like, I hate it when men are made out to be stupid, and when men being sexualized is made to degrade them and make fun of them. And it's like, we don't take that seriously because it's men. And they're like, well, men can take it, but it's a problem. Like it can't, you can't have it only go one way. If we're moving away from sexualizing female characters, we shouldn't again sexualize male characters. And that's what I feel that they're doing with Ken in the Barbie movie, and making him just kind of the dumb sexualized character. And that's why I would have some problems with what I'm seeing from the Barbie film. Thor, I'm not on the level where I'm going to boycott it. I want to see it for myself. I want to see if my thoughts about that movie are true or not. When they are talking about Thor 5, though, I'm just not uh I'm just not a person who really wants to see Thor 5, because I feel like Thor is really getting off the rails the more they try to use him. And I'm kind of wondering if this is going to really put him in the ground as a character. So it's like, I'm not even sure how I feel about Thor 4, but you're telling me there's going to be a Thor 5? I really should have taken water. Next time I do a live stream, I'm going to take water with me. So is there any other news? I've gone for 32 minutes. Okay. I'm not, so I'm at, oh, by the way, I want to thank everybody that my latest short film alone has almost got 500 views. And that means a lot to me because I do not signal boost my videos whatsoever. What I get is what the algorithm allows and the people who happen to find my videos and share it. So that short film is now my highest viewed video. Thank you so much for putting up with my short films and watching them and sharing them. And because that's what I'm going to get. And I'm hoping that I'm getting better with my editing and all those kinds of things. I'm so tired now, but anything else? I've covered Jurassic World, I've covered Elvis, I've covered Barbie, I've covered the Harley Quinn show and that kind of news. Getting a lot of interaction. I'm glad that you guys have all written a lot of things on the channel. I'm currently almost at 570 subscribers, and I'm at 1.4 hundred hours. So I've got a little bit of a ways to go before I can really monetize and finally have this be sort of a side thing for me. But I'm really wanting to work towards that. I was wondering if you guys would want me to do a review on the Obi-Wan show. I haven't talked about Star Wars very much on this channel. I don't really. Thank you for loving my short film story. I'll get to your question in a second, or what you wrote, Albert. I'll get to it now because I'm losing my train of thought. The issue is that it's basically a kid's movie. Objectifying men doesn't bother me. Enjoy your magic, Mike, and shirtless dudes. Yeah, it is a kid's movie. I don't want to see Thor naked. I'm sure they'll blur it out, but I don't like that kind of joke. And I've heard that there's like jokes about orgies and stuff in this movie, and I'm like, that's them letting Taika Waititi take over a little bit too much. So yeah, they're letting him take way too much control over that. I gotta stop saying so, or I'll get people telling me I Grace Randolph again, which is a very big insult to me, by the way. Okay, so what I was talking about was Obi-Wan, and I remember saying that I thought Obi-Wan was the end of Star Wars for me, and ended up it ended up being the end of Star Wars for me. Uh I love the original Star Wars. I love the original trilogy. I love the prequels of Star Wars. I grew up with those. I think with all their flaws, they have redeeming qualities. I even grew up watching Star Wars The Clone Wars. I have not seen good new Star Wars content since The Force Awakens. And most people wouldn't even call that good. And I wouldn't even necessarily call that good. But it's like since then I kind of duped myself into believing that The Force Awakens was better than it was because there's like a bot coming on. Time out. That is very weird. I'm getting like spammed. Okay, anyway, sorry. This is my second live stream ever. Anyway, but I haven't gotten good Star Wars content since The Force Awakens, which was really not good in retrospective. So I like The Last Jedi. I remember my exact words when that movie was over was "I've lived too long," because while I was trying to defend that movie in my mind, I was like, I've watched the death of Star Wars. That movie went against everything that it went against everything that Star Wars was thematically about, and so we have The Last Jedi, which destroyed that. The Rise of Skywalker had no chance of fixing it. We had The Mandalorian, which, excuse me, these like I use on this channel. I have no idea how I'm getting bots. I've never had this happen before. I'll just say that. I'm trying to get rid of these things. Okay, back to Star Wars. I'm trying to talk about Star Wars here. Okay. Anyway, so I don't think The Mandalorian is good at all. I think that it's boring. I think that it doesn't have much plot. I think that it misses a lot of its potential. Boba Fett the same way. And so we get to Obi-Wan, and yes, I feel the nostalgia a lot of other people do of having Ian McGregor and Hayden Christensen come back. But when I would see them do like press tours, I'm like, this is Hayden Christensen and Ian McGregor coming back, and there should be hype over this, but there's not. And the show came back, and I thought it was really dull, just like The Mandalorian. And then it really flew off the rails with massive continuity contradictions. And I know that there were some in between the original series and new Star Wars, but these were like massive. Like, you can't have him have this whole relationship with young Princess Leia for their relationship in A New Hope to make sense. You should not have Obi-Wan meet Darth Vader in between Revenge of the Sith and New Hope. And they did the thing that they did with Luke again, where they make Obi-Wan this depressed old man. And it's like, sure, I can understand him having a lot of self-doubt and a lot of guilt, but not to the point where he would deny help from a fellow Jedi and that leading to that fellow Jedi's death. What I think would happen in that situation is that maybe the Jedi would approach Obi-Wan. He would refuse help at first, but then he would fall back into his nature and try to help the guy and maybe get in trouble for it. That's Obi-Wan. He's not this depressed old guy who's going to refuse help to people who need it. And so it was like he was Obi-Wan in name only, and they got Ian McGregor back, but he wasn't even playing the same character. It was the only thing he had in common was the actor. And so it was kind of it was kind of it was awful. It was kind of like Jurassic World that I was talking about in the beginning of this entire thing, that it was like, it was to the point where I know that there's just no quality to be found here. I realized that very quickly, and so I ended up just tuning out altogether. And so maybe you could go to Mahler's channel or Critical Drinker, and they will do a better, more in-depth rewatch of it, pinpointing everything. But it's just like, I was so tuned out that I couldn't, I don't want to go back and really think about it. It was just terrible, surface level terrible. Paul Fisher, yes, I would like to do some more Star Wars videos. I'll probably do at least one on Obi-Wan. It's just, but this is like kind of my twilight. Like I watched some of the A New Hope at my sister's house the other day while I was waiting to be picked up. I love that movie. I love the original Star Wars. I love the prequels. I love George Lucas's vision. I just don't like anything that Disney's putting out. And I'll do this a bit, I guess, more scripted in a review, but I hate all the controversy around Reva's character. Reva is the worst character in all of Star Wars. She's not even a Star Wars character, but she's the worst character that Disney Star Wars has produced, the worst character to ever be put under the Star Wars label. And worse than Rose Tico, worse than Jar Jar Binks, worse than all of that stuff. Her character is that she's a vengeful, psychopathic murderer who kills Jedi, she kills innocent people, she kills innocent children, but to get revenge on Vader, but we're supposed to root for her because she tries to kill a random child. To her, she tries to kill Luke. To her, it's just a random child, but then she starts crying, and we're supposed to empathize with her. And the Moses Ingram who plays her was like, "Oh yeah, Reva, I can't wait to be an inspiration to young girls." You want this psychopathic character to be an inspiration to young girls? No. And now I'm getting riled up about this. Reva's character is just awful, and it's like Disney knew that. And yes, there were people. I'll call out Mecha Random 42. She did write a racial slur in a video she was doing on the character. That is unacceptable. I don't accept that. I know she was excusing it, being like, well, it's a joke from Family Guy or South Park or something. No, it's not acceptable to put racial slurs when we're talking about an actress or a character. Just criticize the character. But I really think that Disney blew that up to more than it was, because it was only a few people that I could see, and they blew it up and conflated it to, okay, we need to make public statements about this racism. And I'm like, I don't see that many people actually doing this stuff. There's a couple, but there's not a whole lot. And Moses Ingram said that she was told to watch out for racism, but then she goes to her Instagram DMs and looks up at those racist comments. And I'm like, I know that most actors, stay off social media because they know no matter what they do, they're going to get hate. I have a small YouTube channel and I get hate. So imagine what it's like when you're in front of people's eye on a major franchise like that. Most actors do not look at their personal DMs and comments like that. But she did that, and they took screen captures, and then they started this narrative that this is the racist Star Wars fans coming for us. And they conflated it with how people were receiving the character. Because if Ian McGregor came out to defend Moses Ingram, and that's perfectly fine, but he went on to say, well, she's doing amazing work, and everything we're doing with this, her work on the show is amazing. And it's like, well, it would be better if Ian McGregor would say, you criticize the character if you want, but don't attack the actress. Don't attack her for her race. That is what he should have said. But he said, no, we're doing amazing work. And that tells me that Disney wanted to conflate the racism with how people were receiving the character, because they knew the character would be bad. So they wanted to deflect criticism by making it a racism thing. I don't like that. And then Star Wars, it just became a political battle again. It became, you are racist if you don't like Reva. You are just an SJW if you like Reva. And it became this battle again. And that is never what Star Wars used to be. Star Wars has always been diverse, but Star Wars has not always been a political battle on a fandom level. And Star Wars used to be a very accepting community where we all pretty much like the same thing. Yeah, people would argue about the prequels, but overall, I remember Star Wars as a community used to be pretty great, but that community isn't really there anymore. People are really either dropped off of Star Wars, or they are engaging in these battles with each other. And it's like, I want to just watch Star Wars. I don't want to have this become a political battlefield where we have to rip conservatives and liberals run in to rip each other apart like they do with anything. That's really what's taken the joy out of Star Wars for me. That now everything has to become a political battle. If Star Wars, like even The Mandalorian, it had to become a battle over Gina Carano and her tweets and stuff like that. And it's like Star Wars is no longer fun. It's no longer escapism because of that. And the official Twitter site of Star Wars is like jumping into these political debates, and that's only making it worse. So that's... I can't say, like, I don't want to watch Andor. I don't want to, like, Rogue One. What happened with Disney Star Wars killed any enjoyment I had of Rogue One. I don't want to watch Andor. I don't want to watch any of these shows. The Mandalorian season 3, even the Ahsoka show that's supposed to have Thrawn in it. I like Ahsoka as a character. I don't think that Dave Filoni is the master Star Wars showrunner people think he is. Even the last season of Clone Wars really fell apart. So I'm really not expecting that to be good either. So best as I can, I don't really want to watch anything that Disney has to offer with Star Wars. I wish that they would stop making Star Wars content so that this stuff could fade away and we could eventually get back to having a fan base over the original Star Wars content, the originals and the prequels, and the original books. The original books are very good. But I don't know if we can ever do that now, because the more awful content that Disney releases, the more people are just going to forget what they liked about Star Wars in the first place. They're going to be worn out. It's kind of like, hate me for bringing up this comparison, but it's kind of like what's happened with Harley. I got into Harley Quinn in 2015. I remember everyone seemed to love the character. Everyone wanted to find out more about her. All of her stuff was selling like crazy. Then DC took away, they started changing the character. They started taking her away from her original themes, the original things that the character was about. And controversy and arguments erupted in the fan base over it. And they went and DC refused to change with the character, and they still are. And now her comics are barely selling anything. She's got 2 movies that have bombed, and she's got a show that no one actually watches, despite how much critical praise it's gotten. And a lot of people just don't care about the character anymore. They just don't want to pay attention because they haven't gotten anything good in years. How do you like my microphone? Anyway, they haven't gotten anything good in years, and so they just don't care about the character anymore. Not even her merchandise. I would assume she's not even selling as much merchandise as before because there just isn't as much out there. And that's sad, but that's what's going to happen with Star Wars. You have more and more content with Star Wars, and it's just more and more content with Star Wars, and bad content, so much bad content that's making people forget why they love Star Wars in the first place, and more controversy. It's just going to come to the point when people just don't care about Star Wars anymore, and people don't buy the merchandise. Star Wars merchandise sells a lot less than it used to. It's just going to take a little bit longer for that to happen because Star Wars has such much more of a massive fan base and people who are very emotionally attached to it. It's going to take a lot longer for it to fizzle out. So I talked about a lot today. So I want to do more streams talking about how I think that movies and TV are going to change with the culture and whatnot, but I better be going. It's really hot today, so I've got some other things to do. Thank you. I got a lot of interaction on this live stream. Thank you so much for that. Thank you to everybody who's watched the live stream. Maybe I might do a video sort of collecting my thoughts on Obi-Wan and talk about that more, or I'll just clip out this video. We'll see. I'm working on a comedy short film next with my sister, and we'll see what else. I'm going to be on Jacob Aries' studio, Jake's channel, tomorrow to celebrate his 10th anniversary, so you guys can catch me there. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.